The rest of the afternoon was spent in an unsettling manner. My friends and I got to enjoy the many splendors of Ten Pony Tower. I had to admit that I'd never been anywhere quite so clean before that wasn't actually some sort of death trap or house of horrors. The sight of ponies trotting around, talking, and trading was soothing. Somewhere, whether here or in flank, trade saved the wasteland. Since Helping Hoof refused to accept most of the chems provided by Caprice, I sold them to a vendor for a decent amount of caps. That allowed Glory and I to enjoy a perfectly nice, ridiculously overpriced meal in one of Ten Pony's restaurants. I personally found it more than a little bland, but then so was everything else. My sense of taste was a little off. I wonder if that had something to do with the whole eating metal thing? I bit down on the head of a fork and squeezed my jaws closed. Then there was a faint tingle and the metal softened for me to chew it. Nope, not much difference at all. The waiter took one look at me holding half of the eating utensil between my hooves, and his eyelid twitched. What? It came with the meal. There was a sizable crowd eating at the moment. I wasn't very used to that either. Heck, even back in '99, most of the meals were during curfew. Glory was rummaging on the cafe, very much like this back in Thunderhead. But something at the next table over caught my ear. A little phrase that spilled out of the mouth of a mare, a little too dirty to be a full resident, and a little too clean to be some pony long in the wasteland. "If you want to make caps, get to Hoovington," she said, with a faint slur of some pony who'd had one drink more than they should. "A quick in and out, and you'll solve all your monetary problems." Glory had noticed me turn in my seat to look at the mare and her three companions. Laughing, joking, but paying her enough attention to hear what she was saying. "Blackjack?" Glory asked in concern, but I stared at the mare with her greenish-yellow hide and her wide smile, and a pink pony hissed in my ear. "She's a bad pony." "Just want to say hello," I said absently as I rose from my seat and trotted towards the mare and her friends. They were all tower ponies, well-dressed and more or less clean, but there was just something off about the yellow-green mare. "It shouldn't be that hard to set up an expedition," mused one of them aloud. "A sizable caravan. 20 ponies, 10 Brahmin at least. Soon this beastly siege lifts. Better make it 30. The Hoof isn't exactly an easy place at times. But once you've found a spot, you'll—" The prospector mare suddenly blinked up at me, then smiled a little too easily. "Oh, hello. You interested in making your fortune out east?" I grinned as Glory trotted up beside me, frowning in worry. "Yeah, you could say that. You just come from there?" "Surely did," she said with a wide grin. "Came back with trunks loaded with mint-condition guns, ammo, caps, and a couple of crates of food. Felt bad leaving a bunch of it behind, but I just didn't have any more Brahmin." She laughed and the other three joined her. "Well, you could have gotten some more from the finders in Megamart. Caprice is always happy to help for a good price," I said, and immediately drew the curiosity of the three. The protector's smile turned a touch silky. "Well, if you've been there yourself, then you'd know, it's sometimes hard dealing with her." "No doubt. But heck, I've had the roughest time with the finders. You ever get over in your flank in the north?" I asked, feeling something tightening up inside of me. I had a target on her face and felt my legs humming faintly. No. I was more westish." She rose to her hooves. "If you gentlemen would excuse me." "So, by scrapyard?" I asked with a grin as I jumped into her path. "Great place for salvage. One of my favorites." "Yeah, sure," she blurted as she tried to dart around me. "Now, get the fuck out of my—" I might not have had a gun or weapon on me, but I certainly knew how to take down a mare. I grabbed a mouthful of the earth pony's greasy mane and jerked hard, pulling back and making her rear as she yelled in response. I hooked my left leg around her waist and jerked, slumming her back to the table and sending the fancy meals dancing. "Quick! Call security!" one of the 3 bucks yelled. "I'm right here," I shouted as I glared down at her fearful, piss-yellow eyes. "You're lying about coming from Hoofington. I know you are. What I want to know is, why are you lying?" "Get off me!" she yelled as she struggled. I unfolded my fingers and closed them over her windpipe. "That place is a death trap. Any pony that's been there knows it." I looked at the 3 bucks she was talking to. "Did she mention anything about the enervation fields sucking the life from you?" I looked at another. "How about a plague that turns you into a cannibal? Or the wars and fighting?" I looked down at her. There were ponies coming who were not in a good mood. I grabbed her in my synthetic hooves and slammed her against the table. "So I want to know why." She coughed and gasped. "They paid us," she yelled, and I released her enough to breathe properly. "They paid us caps. More gear than I could imagine. Gave it to us like it was garbage. Told us to go out. Find ponies and tell them. Tell them to go to Hoofington." I retracted my fingers and she rubbed her throat. "They found us after we fled Gutterville. Said we could keep everything. Just had to say we came from Hoofington." "We? There were others?" I asked as 10-pony security arrived. She coughed as I moved off of her. She didn't look well at the moment as she stared at me. "They sent us out. Friendship City, New Appaloosa, here. Told us to tell folk Hoofington was rich and safe, and—" She jerked sharply, whimpering and holding her gut. "Said to tell every pony? Hoofington rises." "They? Who are they?" I asked, but she clenched her eyes shut, shaking in pain as she curled up even more. "Hurts," she whimpered as she rolled off the table and suddenly screamed. She rolled in agony as her mouth puked a bloody foam. Every pony backed away except for me as I looked over her. Her stomach was undulating under her hide. Then there was a pop, and her insides burst in a red rain all over us. One of the 3 lost his very expensive lunch. The rest of the lunch crowd was either screaming and fleeing or looking like their brains were fully tied up trying to explain to their eyes what they'd just seen could not possibly have happened. I looked at Glory, who was staring with mixed horror and interest. The dealer had said we could leave the hoof behind, that we could have a normal life away from that cursed city. Maybe we could, but now it looked like the hoof was drawing more ponies in. "We need to get back home," I said grimly. And then I turned and looked at the half-dozen security ponies in front of me, and dropped my eyes to the dead prospector. Ah, shoot. "So, what are you in for?" Rampage asked as she stretched out on the bunk in the 10-pony detention cells, with her hoofs behind her head. Right now, Glory and Homage were trying to clear things up after my little disturbance. The security ponies were trying their hardest to hush up the nasty death before it disturbed the natives' delicate sensitivities. I was sure there would be at least 3 new patients inside Helping Hoof's therapy. The inside of that prospector hadn't just blown apart, but shredded from the inside. Apparently, that wasn't common in 10-pony. Damn, was I really this jaded? "Got in a fight," I muttered. "Shouldn't do that," Rampage tisked softly. "Plus the locals in a hanging sort of mood." "Then she exploded," I murmured. Rampage slowly sat up and looked at me for some hint of a joke or sign that I wasn't serious. I glanced at her and sighed. "Really? I'm not kidding. She started talking about they and them and popped like a balloon full of red paint." "Why do the most interesting things happen around you when I'm not there?" Rampage asked with a chuckle. I wasn't laughing, though. Somebody had sent her here with bags full of caps and loot and a story that she'd gotten them from Hoofington. There were at least 2 others. And, whatever had been done to her, she'd been ignorant of it. Them. Conspiracies, killings, elusive plots, and somewhere I couldn't help but think that some pony was putting together a plan of some sort. With the OIA and Golden Blood and EC 1101, and now I'd just killed that poor clueless mare. Damn it, damn it, damn it! I screamed all at once, thrashing my metallic limbs as hard as I could against the hanging bunk. The metal screeched and deformed before the frame snapped and dumped me on the floor. Stop killing ponies, you fuckers! What's going on? The security pony asked as I rose and proceeded to kick and stomp the frame until it snapped off entirely. Then I apple-bucked it against the bars, making the pair jump back as I smashed what remained into the broken steel. I wanted to be out of breath, to feel my heart pound, my legs to be sore, and the sensation that I'd pounded whoever was behind all this into twisted metal. Instead, I just sat down on the concrete floor feeling like an idiot. Saw a rad roach, Rampage said calmly. She can't handle those things. I looked at the twisted remains of the bunk and sighed, feeling like a royal idiot. Sorry. I was pretty sure my chances of getting out of here were somehow lower than those of me being related to Twilight Sparkle now. Not likely, one pony said to the other with a soft snort. You won't find those things here. Oh, you might. Darn things all over the wasteland. Even get into stables, evidently, Rampage drawled. The talk of rad roaches was distracting them a little from the fact that I just thrashed their bunk. Not in 10, pony, one of the security ponies said, as he reached over and tapped a small, flat metal box on the wall. Ever hear of pesticide talismans? I looked at his hoof in the flat box. Slowly, I crawled to the bars and stared across at the flat little casing. It was simple and nondescript. Something that had been there 200 years or more. Just one little piece of equipment like thousands of the others, bolted to subway walls or in the backs of crumbling houses. I'd probably passed thousands of pieces like that. The one thing that drew my attention more than anything, though, was the faded name on the case. Roseluck Pest Solutions. Open it? I said as I stared at the little box. I looked up at the guards, who were not unjustly looking at me like I had lost my mind. Please open it? The security guards looked extremely skeptical, and I knelt with my hooves clasped before me. Please. I promise I'll behave myself and not make another peep. Just open it. It's locked, one muttered, tapping the little case. I doubt any pony knows where the key is. Call my friend P21. Great with locks, Blue Earth pony, probably somewhere scowling. You can't miss him. I hated this sense of stillness inside me. And then I thought the striped one was a nutcase. The guard sighed before he scowled and said to one of the others, Please see if you can find this friend of hers. And then the tan buck looked at me. And you. Behave. Turn off your eye beam things. Huh? I looked at my hoof and saw the red pinprick light dancing on it. What? That's new. The security ponies moved a healthy distance, talking quietly to each other. I looked at the cot mattress wrapped in twisted metal and glanced hopefully to where Rampage was stretched out. She arched her brow. Hey, don't even think about it. I'm not dumb enough to wreck my own bunk. I sighed. My butt didn't even have enough metal in it for me to ignore how hard the concrete floor was.